facility. We're very fortunate to have it, and also show off some of this technology. Wanted to just start off today with just a brief introduction. I teach both in the information technology minor and the information science department. The information technology minor, if you're not familiar with it, there's actually a sheet of paper in front of you that has some info on it. We're always marketing our programs because it's geared towards other programs around, other majors around campus. It's a wonderful pairing. So look into it if you're not familiar with it. I work in the information science department. I primarily work teaching in the web development field and mobile development field. I'm kind of working on some new courses in that area. I've been teaching in the information science department now for about 2 years full-time, working on my third year. So my areas of expertise: internet technology, web development. Most of this is actually self-taught. I was a student of the information technology minor, so I took a lot away from that particular program. But my degree is not a technical one. It's it's interpersonal organizational communication, international studies. So it's kind of a broad background. The point is that I use this stuff though daily. I've integrated it into most everything I do in the classroom, and today is not intended to be, well, you should do everything this way. I'm just going to show you kind of a smattering of different applications for some of the tools we all have access to. Maybe show you a few that may have to go a few extra steps to get access to. And then I'll leave it to you to take these back to your classroom departments, whatever it might be, and help integrate those into your curriculum. I also do committee work with the ULR Web Services Group. I do most of the front-end web development, and what that means essentially is I build the front-end pieces. I take visual design from our communications office and do all the coding and all of that stuff. So I've been working with them since I left the Office of Communications 5 years ago, where I was before teaching. So that's a little bit about me. Here's what we're going to talk about today. Hopefully we can get to all of this stuff. If not, then so be it. We'll just have to have another session down the road. Before we do anything, I want to get everybody logged into the machines here that are in front of you, just so we can demonstrate some of this this technology. Mostly for you guys, it's just going to be to see kind of what a student sees when they initially log in, and then I'll kind of do a demo of the thin client technology and how it works. We're not going to spend too much time on that, but I'd like you guys to see it. And then we're going to look at using Google Apps to organize, collaborate, and teach. I'm sorry, what's it logging in for? What I need to log here? Save that in your email? I haven't given it to you yet. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, we'll be right there. I just kind of wanted to give you kind of a preview of what we're going to talk about. But we all have access now to Google Apps via our ULR mail account. I don't know how deeply you've gone into that, but if you haven't, hopefully we'll open your eyes to some things that are new that you weren't aware were there, and those of you that have, maybe a few new features, tweaks, things that can help speed up the way that you use this. And then finally we'll look at how we've integrated blogs and wikis and things like that, these other types of web-based publishing mechanisms into our classroom to, I think, keep the students engaged in what we're doing. So that's where we're going to go. I'm going to go ahead and back out here. If you would, on the machines in front of you, if you'd like to follow along, you're free to do so. The username and password is user. Okay, uppercase U. It is going to be. It is case sensitive. So make sure you type the uppercase U in there. And when you log in, you're just going to see a simple desktop. Everything that I do is pretty much online. So all you need to take away from today for accessing these materials is my username, which is TS Wallace. ulr.edu/TS Wallace. So I'll give you about 2 minutes here to get logged in. User and user, uppercase U.
You're what? You've been it.
Case sensitive password with a big U. Now, of course, these are not secure passwords. This is just the first layer of security here. Now, at this point, what you're essentially doing is logging into what's called a thin client, this machine in front of you. And very simply, this is just a very stripped down machine with a graphics card. You see a keyboard, a mouse, and a network connection. And the idea with this approach is that rather than big clunky desktops in front of each student that have to be maintained by a technical support staff and different softwares for different courses in this particular college. With this thin client technology, we can actually give students the software, and even down to the operating system level. So if we wanted to teach a class on Windows 7 or Windows XP or Linux or whatever it might be, when the students log in, that's what they'll see. Okay, so we certainly didn't have we certainly couldn't provide everybody access, but I wanted to show you, this is that next step that the students take when they come in here. They open up what's called this VMware view, which is just a client software, and it goes out and will connect to a server, and then it's going to come back and say, okay, based on who you are, these are the software profiles you have access to. So in this particular case, I'm in an information science production instance, but I could have 10 of these if I was, a really ambitious student and I was all over the place. But once I click on that, it's going to just load in, and I'm not even going to work within this today. I just want you to kind of see this process. I'm basically loading in a version of Windows. So in this case, for this particular profile, it's going to be Windows XP, and some little pop-ups. It's of course, a little bit slower than maybe a normal startup of a brand new computer. But then based on who I am, I'll have access to software for the course. Another nice thing about this approach, especially for those of you that are in situations where you have computers in the classroom, is all the students' files are synced. Okay? All this is running off of servers on the first floor of this building. And we have some on the upstairs as well. But all of their files are synced. So here's the benefit. Is they they come into class, they log in, and they get a working environment. They log out, they go downstairs, they grab lunch, they walk into the lab, they log into the lab, they get the identical working environment. The desktop's the same as it was when they left it in the classroom. Okay, so it's kind of working out on the cloud. You've probably heard that terminology, but it's not this. Everything's not sitting on this machine. It's all sitting on servers in other rooms. So this is just a real. At this point, it's just another computer. Okay, there's nothing real razzle-dazzle about this. So let's not waste a lot of time here. But I did want you to see kind of what this looks like. So I'm going to go ahead. I'll just minimize this down. And so this is back to the actual desktop that I'm working off of here. So if you will, go ahead and open up your web browser on your desktop. It's probably going to be Internet Explorer. And go to ualr.edu/TS Wallace. You don't need to go. You don't need to go there. You're where you need to be. Yeah, you don't need to do that last step that I just did. You don't need to try to connect to the thin client. Once you've logged in with user and user, that's as far as you're going to need to go. You just have a desktop with a web browser on it. ualr.edu/TS Wallace. Okay? And that's going to land you on basically my course shell. I know Mark here works a lot with Blackboard. A lot of you probably work with Blackboard. I haven't worked with it recently. I've kind of rolled this stuff my own because I have the capacity to do it. But I certainly understand. I think what Mark's doing over there is wonderful in enabling you guys. What I'm going to talk about today is not we use this instead of Blackboard kind of thing. Use this along with Blackboard to help enrich the classroom. So did everybody find my site where we need to be? Super. Under the courses drop down here, you're going to see ATLE Workshop. I will leave these materials up for you, so don't feel like you have to write everything down. Play with the technology that we're going to play with today. Ask questions. Let's keep it as interactive as possible. All right, and so right out of the gate here, you're going to see one of the things we're going to talk about today. How many of you use PowerPoint in the classroom on a regular basis? Okay. How many of you have used the Google Docs PowerPoint? Okay. Now, right out of the gate, you can see some instant benefits here. This is PowerPoint. I can present it full screen in class. I can do all of these things with it. But this is all up on your individual cloud through Google. Okay? Nice thing about this, I have a student that misses class that day. They can show right up. They can participate as far as in consuming the content. Of course, they missed the lecture, but I might present that as a podcast or something else in some situations. But the idea is here, they can automatically have access to this content. And in some cases, you may not want that you can set these to private. But in a lot of instances, for me, personally, I want them to consume as much content on the subject as possible. If it's not in front of me, I can at least supplement. If they're not in front of me, I can at least supplement with some of these other tools. We'll talk more about how this works in a minute. But if you'll just scroll on down here, we've talked through the thin client demo. I thought we'd just kind of jump right in with Google Services. Now, when I'm talking about Google Services, I'm talking about Google Mail, which is essentially UALR mail. How many of you use Outlook to manage your mail? Okay, and everybody else is on the web-based? That's a big change. I mean, that's a big change from even 2 or 3 years ago. And I think what we're seeing is with this web-based version, what we have is a lot of additional functionality that we may not have if we're using a mail client. What's another reason we don't use Outlook? Oh, well, I mean, email is going to be your viruses, but that could be part of it. What about mobility? I mean, when I go someplace, I'm not always toting my laptop with me. If I'm on campus, I'm across campus, I can go log in and have the exact same view that I have on my desktop in my office. Okay, so there are some benefits to that, and the real point is your students. I mean, this is how they live. You know, when I say how many of you use Outlook, I mean it's dead in here. They're web-based. They're checking via mobile. There's all kinds of other things that they're doing. So using the mobile version is certainly a benefit. Now, I've got to make sure that nothing else has popped in my mailbox that is scary. It's always scary when you get out here in real time. Invariably, you get that one message. They're like, no. Okay, so you can log in here and work with me. You can watch along, but this is just kind of our standard mailbox view. Nothing too exciting or too new here. What I really wanted to share with you as far as Gmail is concerned is really kind of the way I use this to aggregate all the different information that I have coming in. How many of you use labels and understand kind of the whole idea with labels? In Outlook, this is what we see over here, but in Outlook we had folders, okay? And the difference between labels and folders, I think this is where people get confused most of the time. With labels, what we're doing is essentially attaching what we call metadata to a particular message. And the idea is with this type of mail, if you're not used to working in this environment, is that we don't go file stuff away in a folder. Okay? We use that search bar at the top. Or we may use our labels to kind of organize based off of keywords. But I use search instead of going and finding things in folders. Now, the great thing about this approach is I can file away a message that may have multiple terms or ideas that are connected with it with multiple labels. So let's say it comes from web services, it's a student inquiry, it's about HTML programming. Okay, I could label it with all three of these things. And then if I'm going out looking for an email that pertains to HTML programming, I'm going to find it. If I go out and look for an email that pertains to web services, I'm going to find it. So it gives me multiple ways to get at the information. Really, if you're not using that search bar at the top, you're really not using this thing to its full functionality. Okay, so up here at the top, you know, just practice. Just like with Google. You know, if you have a web-based question, what do? You go out and you type it into Google. Your mail has that same power. And now, how many of you use this delete key? Okay, that's good. I mean, you know, sometimes if it's spam, I'll go ahead and axe it. No need to store it. But the idea with this is to actually archive this stuff away so we can access it at a later time. Now, so the way I use labels in my courses, I create different labels based on course number. Okay, and every student, I encourage them. Actually, I require them if they're going to miss class, they have to send me an email. Okay, I have to have some sort of written communique from them saying this is why I'm not here. Try to treat our classes like businesses. I mean, you don't just not show up to work one day. Same thing for class, but they have to send me an email. All of their assignments, written assignments or web type based assignments, everything we do, they turn it in via email. This does two things. For me, it eliminates paper. Okay, it removes that from the equation. And I'm really have been making an effort the last few years to streamline my classroom and get rid of all of the paper. Now, it's easier in my field. I understand that. But it's still, I think, a good goal. So they turn in their assignments this way. They report their absences this way. If they have a grievance, they report it this way. But what I can do is I'll come in here, and what you'll see, if my mail will actually function today. course not. Or it kicked me out for inactivity. All right, so what we're going to see here is a view of a specific label for a course. And did you know you could kind of group labels together over here? You'll notice how I kind of have a collapsible area over here. You can actually create kind of nested labels, which is kind of more of a throwback mentality, but from an organization standpoint over here, I think it helps. So when I come out here and I look at this particular course, once my mail loads up, you're going to see that I've labeled these particular communiques with the course name and number, or the course number. And then these are assignments, okay? Now, if a student sends in an absence, we'll do the same kind of thing. Down here, you're not seeing any because I haven't had many miss in the last few weeks. But I can always come up here in my search bar, and you'll notice what happened when I clicked on the label over here. Look what it did. All it did was craft the search for me. Okay, I don't even have to do any clicking at all. What I can do is I can come over here, and you don't even have to type in label. You can just type in L as short. So label, colon, and then whatever the label might be. Okay, and if I wanted to come over here and say L colon, let's see here. So what this search does is this gives me every student in my class that has sent me a message about absences and those types of things. So this is kind of how I use labels to manage my courses across the board. And it's just quick, it's easy, and the nice thing is it's documented. Okay, I mean, I sent that assignment. Well, just forward me the original email you sent, we're fine. Or, I sent you a message. Well, they can't really say it didn't get to me, because if they have it in their sent mail folder, we can go and we can sit down and say, okay, where did you send it from? And if it bounced, and if they have the work, then we can work through it. But this is a great way for me to kind of keep up with everything that's going on here. So labels are something that if you're not using them, I really recommend you kind of look into them, play with them a little bit. You can really clean up your mailbox and make it look nice. Thomas? Yes, sir.
Can you explain how you set up labels?
Certainly, absolutely. So let's say I have this message here from a guest speaker that was in class this last week. All we have to do in order to label this message, if I wanted to create a new label, is I just check it, and I can check multiples if I need to, if I have a grouping of specific messages, and I can come over here to labels, and this is where I would apply them. Okay. Now that's the application of a label, but to create a new one, I just have to come down here and say create new, and it'll give me an opportunity. So we'll say, we'll just call this praise, and I think I may have a, thank you. Okay, and I'll say create. And I have an option here to nest label under, so if I wanted it to kind of go under one of the sub-labels over there, I certainly could. And then I'll just say create, and then this message has been labeled thank you. And for some reason, mail's a little slow today. But so that will apply that will create that new label. Once I have the label created, though, it's as simple as just dragging messages from here right over to their label name. If you have them visible, you don't have to do anything else if you don't like. And once again, it's moving slow. So some other things to think about with mail, just some ways to kind of mix it up. Yes, ma'am.
So how is this different from folders?
Labels? It allows us to attach multiple tags, okay, or concepts to a message. With a folder, if I filed it away in Outlook, I've put it in one place.
I've never used Outlook.
Well, then you don't have to worry about it. But no, if any mail program that's going to, what do you use, Entourage, or do you just use
iMail? iMail.
iMail, okay. Do you have folders there, right?
Yeah.
Anymore, I think you can get iMail and Google to play friendly with the label folder kind of relationships in there. I don't know if any of you have had that set up, but that functionality is there. The main difference really is that it's switching from a hierarchical kind of organizational structure to something more flat, like we would use the web to search with terminology and things like that. All right, I want to keep going here. You'll see my label finally showed up. And certainly if there's any technical questions and I can't get to them all today, I'll be available to you guys for questions, comments, whatever. Other nice things about mail. How many of you have played with labs at all? Yes, sir.
Just one parting thought on that.
Yeah.
Do the students label their emails when they send them, or do you label them as you?
I label them.
Okay.
Okay, and I can either manually label them or I can use filters to do that work for me. And it's a little more time consuming at the beginning of the semester, but with filters, these are all located over here in settings. I can go in and take a list of, let's see, I can go in and take a list of my students from a specific course, drop it in here, and say every time I receive an email from that student, apply this label. Okay? Or if it has this word in it, like absence or absent, or whatever. So I can automatically do that, and if I wanted to, I can even have it skip the inbox and go straight to the file. But I don't like that because I like to know what's going on. But if it does the labeling work for me, that helps. This can be overwhelming. I mean, if you do a lot of web-based assignments, I have 2 sections of the same course this semester, so all of their assignments hit on the exact same day, and those days I'm just like, you know, it's 60 mails popping into your box right before lunch. All right, some other things that we can talk about here as far as mail goes. How many of you have clicked on this little... oh, yes, sir.
Why wouldn't you use WebCD, Blackboard for collecting assignments?
Well, like I said earlier, I think for some of you, a course management system may be better. My goal is to look, and not as much as mail, really. I want to kind of keep moving here, but not as much as mail, but some of the docs and other things for collaboration and things like that. As far as using WebCT to collect assignments, you certainly could. I don't want to duplicate efforts. I kind of have my own little system that I've been working in for 4 or 5 years now, and the idea is to kind of show you some different ways of approaching this. I hope you don't feel like you have to abandon WebCT or Blackboard or whatever it might be. For me personally, this is a more streamlined approach because I live kind of in this environment. So up here we have labs. One thing that you can do in here, this is this little green icon in the top right-hand corner. There is all kinds of different things you can do here to turn on like nested labels, what I was talking about earlier. One thing that I have turned on here, and I'll just show it to you in practice out here, is the advanced. Gives you additional ways of kind of setting these up, and oftentimes, this is just like Outlook, nothing real exciting here, but I can prioritize, say, okay, this is an instant action. I normally put checks by student assignments once I've responded that I've received them, those types of things. But you can turn those on where you have more options there. Okay, and then the final piece. It's in the labs up here, I'm sorry. It's this guy right up here at the top. It's a little bitty green icon. Yeah.
How do you get that little icon?
You don't have it?
No.
Well, that's not...
going to labs.
Do I have to enable something? And then...
Well, we should all be on the same version. We should be. Let me do. I'll have to ask the mail administrator if there's a reason behind why that's not enabled. But I don't think you have to enable it. It should just be there. Let's see under settings. Do you have it under your settings option? Yes. Okay. And then under labs. Okay. So if you don't have the cool little icon, you can still get to it via settings. The final piece here, and this one I thought might be controversial with you guys, but the title of this I had the word retention, okay, in it. And one of the things that what I've done to try to kind of keep my students engaged and keep them along in the process is be as open or available to them as possible. And I have chat hours and I have office hours. Okay, I have hours of the day that I'm physically in place, but also and those of you that teach online courses, this is probably pretty common. But I basically have told my students that any time during the work week, as long as I am available, right now you'll see that I am invisible, so one of my web services people doesn't pop up and spam you guys. As long as I'm visible to them, they have access. So in doing that, I think they're more likely to communicate with me, especially some of my students that aren't as communication savvy or as outgoing as some of my other students. This is a way for them to still interact with me without having to, come up to the office and sit down. Now, I understand, we want that face-to-face, and I like that, but I've learned, being over in this college, that oftentimes they're just not going to talk to you. If they're not outgoing or if they're more introverted, they're just not going to do it. And I want to still see them succeed. So chat is actually an interesting way for you to interact with them. If you haven't tried this, you may play with it. How many of you use it on a regular basis? Even if it's not with your students, it's a great way to interact within the office. I mean, you know, yes ma'am?
Is it the same as Pronto?
I'm not familiar with Pronto. Is it a web desktop chat client or?
It's like
It can function that way.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way I use it.
Yeah. Same kind of deal.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with Pronto, but yeah, if you have Instant Messenger, this is like kind of the old, you know, throwback to some of those old days. You can actually use this client in here with Instant Messenger if you still have your old handle. All right. Well, I spent way more time on mail than I wanted to, but maybe I need to just do a full session on playing with this stuff. Let's go ahead. Any other questions before I move on here? All right. So next up, Google Docs. Show of hands, users. Okay, about 50-50. Google Docs to me is what's really exciting about this system. Right out of the gate, we know when we start a course that every one of our students has access to these technologies. Okay, if you have a ULR email, you have it. I mean, as long as you have an internet connection, which there's plenty of open labs around campus that you have access to this stuff, you can get in here and use Docs. Now, Google Docs is pretty much any time I have a student do a written assignment, I will have them do it in Docs and send it to me. This does two things. One, it helps them get out and work outside maybe their comfort zone a little bit. But web-based publishing is here to stay. It's not going away. So this is a skill set that they can this can help flesh out a skill set. Now much like with labels, in Docs we have collections where I can collect multimedia resources. And from within here, currently, and this will continue to expand, the multimedia resources I can deal with are web-based documents like Word, okay, presentations like PowerPoint, spreadsheets like Excel. And then they've added a little drawing app in there, kind of like from Microsoft Paint, kind of a throwback thing. It's not there yet, but you can do, workflows and things like that with word art and things like that. It can be useful. But I've collected these, and then I use collections to kind of bundle them together. Now, the things that I really want to hit on here, first of all, is understanding how collections work, because this is applicable for all of us. With collections, what I can do is I'm going to come in here into course documents, and I've put together a collection of stuff for you guys. Okay? Now these are documents that I have basically just kind of I just did some Googling on a current event, the earthquake. Went out and found some resources that found some resources that were applicable. So let's say in class we were going to, it's a geology course, and we're going to discuss the recent earthquake, the implications of plate shift and everything like that. I've gone out, I've pulled together a graphic here. I pulled together a PowerPoint presentation that's web-based. Okay, and if you haven't used this, you can import from PowerPoint. If you love PowerPoint, you feel comfortable in it, and you're fast, great. You can create it, and then you just import it right in. Okay, so it's not like you're bailing out on everything that's made you comfortable for years. This is a transition. This is more of a, we're talking about distribution here. So here what I have is a PowerPoint presentation that I've uploaded. And then, what else do we have in here? This is really cool. Now, how many of you do PowerPoint with video? Is it tough? It's a pain?
It would be for me.
To get your video? Yeah, I mean, I've got to go out, I've got to get it, I've got to convert it, I've got to get it there, I've got to get it embedded. Well, how about this? How about just embedded right in the PowerPoint presentation? Google owns YouTube as well, so it makes it easy. All right, so now I have presentations here that are web-based, more content-rich than, I mean, I can do this in PowerPoint, but it's a lot of extra work. Okay, I come out here, and I just threw this together simply, bam, YouTube video embedded. It's in a format the students are familiar with. There's no proprietary layers or anything like that. They understand it. They get it. Okay, and then, so now I've I've done my lecture, okay? And then at the end of the day, what I can do is I can take this collection of resources here, and I just share it. And I'm done.
Now, how do you share it?
Okay. So I'm going to come back over here to this guy right here. I come to Actions. I go to Share. And what I do here is I'm going to create at the beginning of the semester a list, a group of contacts for my course, using their UAL or mails, because they all have access to this system. And then when I come in here and I want to go share, it's going to pull this up, the shared settings option, add people or groups. I just type the group name in here, and I'm just going to use an email address. And I'm going to put Catherine in there. Thanks for coming, boss. I've put her email in, and then I have options. They can edit, or in this case of the student, they don't need them to edit. We just need them to view it. And where does this show up? In their Google Docs. I didn't have to send an email. I didn't do anything. I just click share. It's gone.
It's in their inbox?
Well, they'll get, if I come down here and I say send an email notification,
okay,
it'll say a new item has been shared with you. But otherwise, it's going to show up in their documents, in their Google Docs section. So there's a little literacy with your students that's going to have to come, but I promise you, it comes very quickly. Okay, I mean, it's not something that is that hard to do. And typically what I'll do is right out of the gate, the first week of class, we'll have a few in-class exercises where we work with some of these tools, because the collaborative nature of these tools is what's so powerful. All right, so I've shared this. As you can see from sharing, I can also edit. I can edit or view. And so there's classroom implications, but there's also, so I've just shared this with Catherine. When she goes and opens her email, or she'll get a notification because that's what I did. So you could actually chunk each course, each classroom activity you do into different sessions and share those. Or the cool thing is once I've shared this particular collection, I can keep adding stuff to it. So it becomes almost like a web share for your students. And that is powerful. I don't have to go resend, do all this other sharing notifications. I can just keep dropping stuff in there. So what's really cool is if you teach this use, then let's say you have a team project in class. So why don't you guys set up a collection for your project, and y'all can all go drop resources in there. And you all have access to it in real time. So this is just different ways to think about using these tools.
You say at the beginning of the semester you set up the lists of student emails.
Right. Yeah, you just come down to you come to your address book in Mail and create a group.
And can you import the whole class all at once, or you got to?
No, it's not as easy as I'd like it to be. Yeah, I go into Boss and click the Mail the entire class button, and then I just copy that link and drop it in there.
Okay, so you can copy the whole thing.
Well,
not just one at a time.
Well, no, you can. There's a Mail the entire class link in Boss. Yes. If you click on that and paste it, it'll be like a little mail to colon at the beginning and a quote at the end. That's all you have to remove.
Okay, so it's just
just comma separated values is all you have to do.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, so you do that, and then so this is a way, and I've just eliminated printing stuff off and distributing it. Okay, we just kind of streamlined it. Okay, so that is that's really what I wanted to show you here with collections. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't see everybody. Where are you? Question?
How do you set up a group?
That's going to be out in Mail.
Okay.
Okay, and you're just going to have to come down here to Contacts. And then you're going to say all contacts, and it's this button right here. You got one little head, two little heads. Click that one. Click that one right there. It's going to pop up this option. I give it a name, course number, whatever I want to use. Let's see. We'll just say ATLE. Okay, and then what I can do is I can come over and check names in one fell swoop, and then add to group. So I had to, after I created the group name, I had to come over to all my contacts and check all the names off. I think you could probably do it with a list as well. Let's see if can I just come right in here, no contacts,
Do you have to manually create the contacts before?
Well, actually, all of ours are pulled out of LDAP. I think they come out of the campus system.
Okay, she has like, that looks like what she has.
Right.
I only have 4 of my students in my contact list.
Well, I'm just working off what I'm told.
Okay, good.
But I think it's supposed to be pulling from that. But let's talk when we're done and we'll see if we can figure out why you're not doing that. Because I know the people that can help you. Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna. That can be, yes, absolutely, and that's why Blackboard may have some benefits in certain instances, for sure. Okay, so there are. Where are we? So back over here to document. Let's get back on track. 11. So while we're in here, we can share this information in this way. I work right out of here. Very easy to do. I think the best way to learn this stuff is just to really get in there and set out to do it. I mean, is it as full-featured as Word or PowerPoint? No. But in all honesty, how many times do you use 95% of the features in Word or PowerPoint? And if you're using more than probably 5% of PowerPoint, you've probably got too much going on. All right. So, any questions about docs that we can answer in the next 3 minutes, 4 minutes? Yes?
If you create a PowerPoint, you can just copy and paste it here.
So,
about the other way around, if you create something here, it's going to run in PowerPoint.
That's actually, I meant to mention that. I'm sorry that I didn't. The question was, if I have something, this is where I think adopters have issues with this. Like, well, I don't want to put all my stuff up on the web. I want to hold my files close. And I understand that. But any file that you have, so if I come over here and let's see, come over here in the course documents, and I will go into my sample that I just pulled up for you guys, and I open up this particular presentation. I have the option to download as a PDF. I can pull it down as a PowerPoint, or just strip the text from that document. Okay? So can the students. That's the thing. If you share this with them, you can have it where they can just view it, but they can pull down a PDF of the presentation. Okay? And they can keep it with them if they are going to be offline over the weekend. They're going away to the beach, and they're not going to have access, but they've got homework to do, whatever it might be, going in the woods. They can pull this stuff down and have access to it. So it's very flexible, I think, is the point. And really, it's just going to be on a case-by-case basis how you use this stuff. Alrighty, so let's see. Okay. Now, you think about this in the classroom, but think about this also at the departmental level. We've used this all the time for different types of collaborative, working documents. Let's say you've got a promotion tenure document or whatever it might be, and you want to send it out to the department, have them go through it, say, okay, what are your edits? What do you think? Well, you can share these documents with everybody. They can open them up, work on them. It's not the, do I have the right copy? Can you send me the one that you just worked on, go back and forth? We eliminate all of that, which is really nice. And all of that is done via the share button that we just looked at a moment ago. So come up here, and I can come out here.
So we don't need Dropbox anymore?
Well, if you want to, as long as it's a PDF, an image, a video, a Word document, an Excel spreadsheet, you're good to go. So, I mean, you may run into storage issues. I think right now, Mark, do you know off the top of your head the current capacity? It should tell you down at the bottom. So right now, almost 8 gigs. So I mean, if you're moving tons of like large graphics, no. Word docs, PDFs, things like that, I think you're okay. All right. So let me get up there and get cleaned up a moment before we move on. One final
comment.
Yes, sir.
When you do the online lecture there, and you're embedding the videos, is that just a link to YouTube?
To embed the presentation itself?
Right, it's just a link to YouTube, right?
Well, it's embedded. It'll play in real time on the web. They won't go out and open it up.
I mean, you're just not going to run into space issues about.
Oh no! Yes, you're correct. It's not stripping it out of YouTube. It's using their hosted service, and I don't think it goes against your bandwidth allocation. Yes, sir.
If you're
not connected to the web,
then you're out of luck with video. I mean that's the real drawback with any of this stuff. You know, it's one of those things that I guess you could have USB thumb drives that you pass out at the end of class, but that's probably more work than you want to do. Any other questions? One other piece that I think might be useful to you all. How many of you have played with the spreadsheets here? Okay. Any Excel lovers? I'm not necessarily one of them, but some of you might be. But check this out. This is what's great. If you come in here to create new, and you come down here to form, what I can do via this builder is I can create interactive surveys, questionnaires, essay questions, writing prompts, whatever it is that I want to use right on the fly. Okay, and I'm just going to do a quick one here. Sample question. Feedback on today's presentation. Okay. Okay, help text if they need it. What type of question is it? Paragraph text. In this case, probably paragraph text. But I have options here to do Likert scales or whatever it is that I'm wanting to use. It's not SurveyMonkey, but it's getting close. It's getting pretty good. Now, once I've done this, I can say whether or not it's a required question, and I'm going to just say ATL, ATLE demo, and I'm going to come out here and say that I'm done. All right. Now, here's what's cool. This form that I just created in 30 seconds. I can come down here and say, okay, I can view this form. I'm going to save it first. It's going to save it and kind of auto-save it for you regularly. But I can come out here and in that quick of a time, I've just created a web-based form where students can input data. I can say, you have to be logged into UALR Mail to do it, or I can have it public. So this is good for off-campus stuff if you need to collect information from stakeholders, past alumni, those types of things. It's all there.
Can they see the answers too?
No. Yeah, that's the beauty in this. This content goes into a spreadsheet. So it's already in a format then I can do other things with. Yeah, there's no more duplication of effort there.
Does it identify the users?
You can set it up, if you require them to log in, you can set it up where it will take capture their UALR username along with it.
If you wanted to do course evaluations this way.
It only captures them if you require it to.
So you could do it or not.
Absolutely. And if I had more time, I mean, I could do a whole session just on that form builder. If I had more time, we could really walk through it all. But it's a really powerful tool, and we've used it quite a bit to great success. But what I wanted to show you here finally is now, in 30 seconds, I've created just a very simple kind of deal here. And I'm going to come back out here and I'm going to strike this one because I don't want it. And if you want, you see up here where it says require UALR sign-in to view this form. Allow users to edit responses, automatically collect. There's some of that stuff right up at the top there, George. All right, I'm going to just uncheck this. And let me see. I can also, for those of you that like fun stuff, you can theme them and make them look pretty if you want. Since we're kind of over here in this high-tech building, we'll use the matrix. All right, so I'm going to come out here and preview this one more time. I'm going to take, did I not save my changes? No. Save, apply, there we go. There we go. All right. So now watch this. I'm going to take this form, this web-based form that I've created. It's all snazzy. And I'm copying this address. I'm just going to take that address. I just like it. And we'll come back over to Docs here. And I'm going to take our presentation that was on the screen when you guys walked in the door. And I'm going to come down here to this last slide. Right down here, I'm going to add a link. It says, okay. And I'm going to paste the address of my form right into here. Say OK. And now, if you refresh the page that you were on, we've now just pushed out fresh content. No uploading, no FTP server, nothing. Okay, so it allows you just to do things. Used to, what I just did would have taken me a couple hours of programming and set up a database and everything else to get this all working. Now, quick and easy, and then that should take us out to our form where you can tell me how I need to answer questions there. Okay.
So I'm sorry, I might be going back a little bit. With the groups, I can specify who can have access to whatever document.
Yes. Yeah. When you go to share, you can do it by username or you can do it by group.
So it's private.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you have all of that control. I just don't have time to go through every. But I think you can get in there, and I think you can kind of play with it.
So you can send up PDFs of copyrighted readings and be safe. Kind of.
Now that's opening
Nobody
up.
can catch you.
Yeah. That's opening up a whole nother realm. But I guess the same thing would go for something that you've printed off and distributed. I mean, I'd say those same type of things apply. But print them to PDF instead of that printer, and save a ream of paper and have that content then in a format that the student can decide how they want to consume it. I may want to read it here. Yes, sir.
One last question. I know that you weren't going there, but you put it up on the board once. 60 seconds on wikis?
I've got it. We're moving on here. That's Google Docs. I wish I could talk more about it. Maybe don't have to back. Yes, Tom?
The new version of Blackboard that we will pilot in the fall integrates with Google Docs. So all the stuff that Thomas has been demonstrating today is also going to be a connection there. We'll have to work with competing services to get the things connected, but that was another reason why I wanted to attend.
Timely session.
Right.
So, good news. Yes.
Does that mean that we'll have new training sessions to get a glimpse of what best practices are, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel and setting all this up?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And by the way, and as far as speaking of reinventing the wheel, they have a full set of templates in here as well for a lot of stuff. And you just have to kind of get in there with that. Okay, so that's the 30-minute Google Docs tour. I had a few other things to discuss, and that was how we integrate some of these other. Sorry, I have all kinds of windows open here. Two different things. Blogs. I hate to just say, oh, we're doing blogs because everybody's doing blogs and it's cool. Blah 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 da da. We use blogs in our information technology minor program, basically for a couple different purposes. First of all, we try to get our students working out on the web as much as possible, as much as they can be out in that environment. I think the better off they are when we actually start building things for the web. It makes them good citizens of the web. They understand how things work. Now, there is blog functionality in Blackboard, but it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, I mean, it's not any.
Well, the version we have right now, but the new version is going to be more robust.
And themable. Okay, so what we have done is we use WordPress, which if any of you do maintain content for your departments or anything like that, it's all WordPress-based system. The old one you guys are using is terrible. It'll be better soon, by the way. But this is what we've done here is we create kind of a course index, and what this does is each student has access to every other student's blog. And here we have what we call like a global feed, where we go out and pull content from each of these sites and kind of aggregate them into one place. So students can see what other students are writing about. Now, that's not appropriate on all types of assignments. I understand that. But for the types of assignments that we're writing about, what we're encouraging is that next step. Let's go read what other people are writing and then participate in the discussion. That's the power in the blog platform, is because it's a two-way communication. It's not just a, here's what I think, and comments are off. No, we want them to engage, okay? And we can also engage with them. If Catherine reads a particular piece that was really well written, she can right there, respond in a comment, say, hey, I read this, this was wonderful, and even go back out and recommend it to some other people to read. So we use this tool to kind of to help with all of our writing. And this is all done via an off-campus system. Okay, we use a host called BlueHost. It's like $80 a year. And with BlueHost, though, and this is not a plug, I don't get paid by them. What it does is it allows us to do really quick deployment of different types of technologies, like wikis or blogs. And in this case, you'll notice up in the top left-hand corner, what I can do, I can come here at any time, and I have 21 sites, 25 users. I can archive people. A student, is disgruntled and they've gone crazy. It's like, we can, or they leave the program or whatever it might be. We still have control here. So that's kind of nice. We certainly aren't intending to censure, but the idea is we have some students that may drop and we won't, or go away for a semester and then come back. So we'll just archive their stuff and kind of keep it there, but it's not out in public. And then when they come back, they can have access to it. We've had a lot of success with this. Catherine primarily works with those students. She could probably speak to that if you had any content-based questions. But this is what we use to manage that. This is called WordPress, and we get all of this via our BlueHost account. And finally, this is kind of I just wanted you to see what all is available to you guys now. Okay, used to it's like, oh, I want to do this, and it's going to require a really high level of technical expertise. In 20 seconds, I can go and install any of these services. They're all open source. They're all free. Okay, and you get like 250 installations here. So project management, if that's what you're into, if you're looking at wikis, okay, we have installation options there as well. So, but there's a lot of good services that offer those kinds of things. If you're interested in that, that's a little more technical solution. But if you're interested in that, I'd be happy to talk with you. So, how many of you have any of you used wikis in the classroom at all, or familiar with wikis? No? Wiki is a collaborative writing environment. You all have heard of Wikipedia, and most of us are kind of like, when we see that in the sources, we're like, it can be used for good though, okay? And there's a lot of good stuff there. This particular one is an open source one called MyWicca. Here I just actually created this installation this morning and threw some text in here quickly for you guys. But the idea is that you can add users to this, just like a group of students. They have access to this. They can come in and you can give them writing prompts, and they can do collaborative writing, collaborative editing. So that there's some real power in this particular approach, especially in the writing discipline. I want to show you a real-world example of a class. One of my colleagues teaches in social computing. And this is how he uses this. He'll make an assignment, okay? And this is basically a survey of existing social media technologies. And when you get in here and you start looking at content, so he may create these prompts and these subjects, but then he'll say, okay, this team of three students needs to write about social networks. You guys write about microblogging, and then you can come in here and see how this lays out. Okay, this tells me who's participated in this specific edit of this section. Okay, the student names, and it's just a very easy to use environment. Now I don't have logins for this stuff, so I can't go in and show you that. But that's not what you're here for. I mean, learning this stuff is pretty simple. It may seem intimidating, but if you have a login to edit one of these blogs, actually, let me see. How much time do I have? I have 2 minutes. Use it. And here, I'm going to show you this one I set up earlier, just so you can kind of see. Again. Okay, so now that I'm logged in, I've logged in as a student, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm reading this passage. I just double click, and then I edit. It was that simple. I mean, it wasn't a lot of, even for non-technical students, if you can log into your email, you can do this. I mean, there's not, click the login button, type your credentials in, double click where you want to edit, and then based on who they are and how they're logged in, that's what collects all the, okay, this person edited this passage at this time, and we can see revisions, versioning of the document. So, great applications for writing classes, documentation classes, or group projects. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Can you talk about using this for group projects versus Google Docs for group projects?
Well, this particular wiki is See, I'm trying to, I think the big thing for me here, I mean, I can insert imagery, I can insert tables and things like that. Where Google Docs takes it the next step is I get the video, the spreadsheets, the presentation integration. Okay, it allows for me to embed a lot of additional types of rich media and try to make kind of more of a seamless experience. You open up a collection of materials from a course, and there's 2 pieces of video. There's a chart that has it's a chart that's supporting what you're talking about. A table full of data.
But would it track the changes like
like track changes does in that is.
I mean, where we could tell who did what.
Right. That is a great question, and I'm not. Let me see. Let me wrap up and let's look into that and finish up here, okay?
Now, please, guys.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things in the spec that they're working on.
Okay.
This is something that's really pretty new, but it's something that you're going to see more and more of, and you can see there's a lot of benefits to it. I mean, especially for us, because all of our students have the same tool set, and from class to class, those, the more we use this stuff, the more familiar and savvy that they're going to be. Okay, so to wrap things up, I have given you guys a lot of additional information here, places to play. Some of this is about information discovery and literacy, some different community-driven tools that you may not be familiar with. Maybe they'll have me back and let me dig deeper into some of this other stuff. I really wanted to kind of give you a smattering of the tools that you have at your fingertips right now. So, let's see here. Go ahead, pull this guy up. Anybody, any questions before we wrap up the day? Yes, ma'am. Oh, great question. Yeah, do students have off-campus access? We as faculty have to basically vouch for them so they can get a VPN account with computing services. Once we've done that, that's all they have to do, and they have to have that client. But that capability is there. And in all honesty, we had to kind of roll back to a level of software at the launch last year. We had some issues, but we're going to scale back up to the most current version. It's going to allow a lot more functionality. Thank you guys for coming today. I'll be around for questions if you have any. Y'all have a nice afternoon.
Want us to log off and shut down?
Yes, if you would, please log off.